Prabhupada gave us to sing. Huh? Bhakti. That's such a nice song of Bhakti Vinod that Prabhupada chose. He would say it gives us a whole picture of Vrindavan, yeah? Huh? Double. Huh? What? Our class is like tomorrow. One of those verses from the demons. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvrajikacharya Asatara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatyade Satarane Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stams Jivam Sadvoitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lavita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakalpachupischa Kripasindhavyavatapatitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's March 20th, 2023, Hillsborough, North Carolina. And we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 43, Text 35. So this verse is spoken by Chanura to Krishna and Balaram. Tasmad Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Cha Karavamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Please chant. Tasmad Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Chakaravamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Tasmad Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Chakaravamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Tasmad Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Chakaravamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Tasmad Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Chakaravamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Tasmat Ragna Priyam Yuyam Vayam Chakaravamahe Bhutani Na Prasidanti Sarva Bhuta Mayon Ripa. Tasmat, therefore, Ragna, the kings, Priyam, pleasure, Yuyam, you too, Vayam, we, Cha, also, Karavamahe, let us do, Bhutani, all living beings, Naha, with us, Prasidanti, will be satisfied, Sarva Bhuta, all beings, Mayaha, comprising, Nripaha, the king. BBT translation. Therefore, let's do what the king wants. Everyone will be pleased with us, for the king embodies all living beings. There's no BT purport. And we're going to go to Sanatana Goswami's, which is the same as Jiva's. So the Krishna and Balaram, Sanatana Goswami is suggesting that Krishna and Balaram may have some objection. But we should wrestle with cowherds. So this is because in the previous verse, Chanura said, you can wrestle because you wrestle with your friends. So Krishna and Balaram might have responded, but we wrestle with other cowherds. We don't wrestle with big wrestlers. This verse answers, you should wrestle with us to please the king. All jivas will be pleased with us, since the king represents all jivas. They all depend on him. By fighting, you two, who are his subjects, will protect all beings. Do not fear. Let us please the king. In pleasing him, all beings will be pleased with us. This is very, very similar to the verse that Mara spoke on the other day. So I'm going to look at it from a little different angle of vision. Tasmad ragna priyam yuyam vayam cha karavamahe bhutani na prasidanti sarva bhutam mayon ripa. Therefore, let's do what the king wants. Everyone will be pleased with us, for the king embodies all living beings. So, Chanura here is speaking about a principle that if you satisfy the right person, that takes care of everything else, yes? That's his principle. And Srila Prabhupada talks about that principle. I'd like to read from Nectar of Devotion preface. In the primary stage, a child loves his parents, then his brothers and sisters, and as he daily grows up, he begins to love his family, society, community, country, nation, or even the whole human society. But the loving propensity is not satisfied even by loving all human society. That loving propensity remains imperfectly fulfilled until we know who is the supreme beloved. Our love can be fully satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna. This theme is the sum and substance of the Nectar of Devotion, which teaches us how to love Krishna in 5 different transcendental mellows. Our loving propensity expands, just as a vibration of light or air expands, but we do not know where it ends. The Nectar Devotion teaches us the science of loving every one of the living entities perfectly by the easy method of loving Krishna. So Chanura had this concept, but who was he thinking you should love? Kamsa. So he could write the same preface, except that he would substitute Kamsa for Krishna. Right? So let's go on. We have failed to achieve peace and harmony in human society, even by such great attempts as the United Nations, because we do not know the right method. The method is very simple, but one has to understand it with a cool head. Now that's an interesting thing. In other words, one has to understand it through Shastra and reason and not through emotion and attachment. The Nectar Devotion teaches all men how to perform the simple and natural method of loving Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we learn how to love Krishna, then it is very easy to immediately and simultaneously love every living being. It is like, what analogy is Prabhupada going to give? Watering the root. It is like pouring water on the root of a tree, or what's the other metaphor he always gives? Or supplying foodstuffs to the stomach. The method of pouring water on the root of a tree or supplying foodstuffs to the stomach is universally scientific and practical, as every one of us has experienced. Everyone knows well that when we eat something, or in other words, when we put foodstuff in the stomach, the energy created by such action is immediately distributed throughout the whole body. Similarly, when we pour water on the root, the energy thus created is immediately distributed throughout the entirety of even the largest tree. It is not possible to water the tree part by part, nor is it possible to feed the different parts of the body separately. The nectar devotion will teach us how to turn the, anyone remember this? Okay, with those of you who don't have it in front of you, any of you remember what Prabhupada said? Such a nice statement. Okay, if you can remember this one statement from today's class, that will be a successful class. The nectar devotion will teach us how to turn the one switch that will immediately brighten everything everywhere. Sometimes we have a house where you turn one switch, turns on all the lights. Right? Or nowadays they have these devices. You just say, hey, Alexa, hey, Google, whatever, turn on all the lights. So Chanura understands this concept that there might be one person that if you please that one person, if you have the right center, then you take care of everything else. Wouldn't that be nice? Right? Because generally we're running around trying to please everything separately, which is very difficult because when we please one set of jivas, we automatically displease another set of jivas. Have you had this experience? Right? You make these people happy and then these people are upset with you and you just can't please everybody. So here we're going to look at what can we do? What's the one center we can do where, first of all, I'm going to be satisfied. And then we're going to look at the much more difficult question, a question that has puzzled me ever since I joined the Hare Krishna movement, of how we can get everybody else to be satisfied. Because although Chanura is saying this, and although Prabhupada is saying this applies to Krishna, it seems to me that it doesn't, I don't know, my sensory perception of this doesn't seem to coincide with this statement. So we're going to look at how this can be true. All right, so first of all, what could our center be? So many, many years ago, my godbrother Sridhar Maharaj, the late Sridhar Maharaj, encouraged me to read some of Kavi's book. And I read 2 chapters of it, never read the whole book. But I read the section on missions, having a personal mission statement, and I read the section on what is the center of your life. So Kavi talks about different centers a person can have, and he gives 10 of them. He says your center might be your family, your spouse, yourself, which generally means the body, money, work, possessions, pleasure, friends, enemies, your church, or what he calls principles, which I would assume is something like what we would call dharma. And he suggests that everybody have principles as their center. Now, Chanura is giving another one here. He's giving government to be your center. It's interesting the Kavi doesn't have that. Or perhaps some sort of ideology. So government, it could be the government itself, like a person has Biden as their center. I don't think a lot of people do that, but we had a lot of people who had Donald Trump as their center. That was quite interesting phenomena. And many times people will take an ideology as their center, isn't it? We're going to, communism or democracy or something like that. Environmentalism as their center. And many years ago, when I was discussing this with my son Keshava, when I was first reading this, he said to me, Mata, do you really have God as your center or do you have church as your center? And I was like, whoa. And I realized that I was actually church-centered instead of Krishna-centered. It was quite a shock. But I've seen people with all these different centers, haven't you? I mean, I know some people who are enemy-centered. They always have to have an enemy. Yeah? You know people like that? And once they, defeat one enemy, then they have to find another enemy. And they're thinking, if I could just defeat this one enemy, then everything else would be taken care of. Everything else would be solved. So we tend to have this concept, again, that Chanura has, that there must be one switch. There's got to be one switch I can turn that lights up everything. If I'm just devoted to my family, and I remember also my son Keshava talking to me about the fact that a lot of modern media focuses on that. If you're just devoted to your family, then you will be happy. Or if you're just devoted to money. Yes? So a lot of people are preached to, and if you just work to get enough money, or my career, my work. If I just do good work.
Or if I just try to satisfy my senses, just try to have fun, do what feels good. If you just do what feels good, which they often, cover as follow your heart, which often just means, be an animal. Just do whatever feels good. Then you'll be completely satisfied. Or you just serve your church. Or you're just devoted to your spouse. Just a good husband. You're just a good wife. Or just do what feels good for yourself. Be true to yourself. Be true to your own person. That's become very popular nowadays. Don't care what anybody else thinks. Just take, then you'll be satisfied. So have we tried these? Have all of us tried some of these? I have. Or your possessions. I mean, there are some people who are just totally devoted to their possession. Does it work? Do we become satisfied? Does everybody else become satisfied? Does it happen? We don't achieve full satisfaction, and most other people aren't fully satisfied. I mean, even let's say your spouse. I give this example so many times. Your husband's favorite dish is lasagna, so you make lasagna, and he says, "Thank you for making lasagna." And the next day you make it again, and he says, "Why are you making it 2 days in a row?" This is, even if you try to satisfy one other person perfectly, it doesn't work. And what makes your spouse happy at 10 a.m. may make them annoyed at 11 a.m. Do you have this experience? Over so many endless lifetimes. And we keep thinking, well, maybe if I was just devoted to we change our center. Maybe if I change it from spouse to family, or maybe if I change it from money to career, or maybe if I change it from government to family. People sacrifice for their government all the time, yes? They literally give their right arm for their government. Literally, they go off to war and they lose their right arm. They give their arm and their leg, their mind in battle for their country. And lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we're doing this. So Chanur is stuck in this, and he's like, you just got to give it all to the king. And then often, whatever our center is, we try to convince other people about it too. Have you noticed this? You have to have the same enemy that I have. And if you don't have the same enemy that I have, your life is wasted. Do you know people like this? Do you know devotees like this? I do. You just have to have the same friends that I have, otherwise your life is wasted. You have to go to this particular group of devotees. You have to go to this sangha. You have to go to this person's class, or else your life is wasted. And I'll go to that person's class and I'll be meh. And they say, well, your whole life is wasted. You're not my friend anymore. You have to have this particular ideology. So Chanur is doing that. He's saying, you have to subscribe to my thing. Okay, so that doesn't work. So Srila Prabhupada's giving us, wait a minute, you have the wrong center. And sometimes people try to switch within that center. Okay, ideology is my center. I'm going to pick a different ideology. I'm going to keep spouse as my center, but I'm going to get a new spouse. I'm going to have career as my center. I'm going to get a new career. Right, so they switch the nature of the center, or they switch from one center to another. But it doesn't work, and we're frustrated, and we keep thinking we're going to manipulate within that. So Prabhupada's saying we should have Krishna as the center. Now, why, if I have Krishna as the center, will I be satisfied? That's our first question. Why will I be happy? And then we're going to look at the far more difficult question that Chanura brings up today. Why will everybody else be happy? Because that's been my real bugaboo. I don't see that anybody else is happy. Actually, when my husband got initiated by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada called him Prachitos. He says that means he who satisfies everyone. Tosam. Of course, he's Prachitos Das. That Krishna satisfies everyone. That if I satisfy Krishna, everyone will be satisfied. All right, so why will I be satisfied if I make Krishna as the center? Why will that satisfy me? So for me, the philosophical answer for this is given at the end of the Brahma Vimohana Lila. So there, Maharaj Pariksit asked the question, why were all these people more attached to Krishna, who was appearing as their child, than they were to their own children? That's unusual. Srila Prabhupada says over and over and over again that it's not wrong and it's natural for a person to be more attached to their children than to other people's children. He says if a lot of people are in danger and your children are part of that lot of people, you're going to save your children first. Yeah? Right? And he gives that as an analogy of why Krishna favors his devotees, although he's impartial. Yes? So that's a very natural thing. But yet, the residents of Vrindavan were more attached to Krishna, who wasn't their child. That's strange. And then, what did Sukadev Goswami say? He said, but Krishna is not just another jiva. He is the super soul. I mean, we may say this word, we say it so often, sometimes you forget about what it means. The super soul. He's the self of the self. And Sukadev Goswami says, just like we're all very attached to our body. Yes, we all try to keep our body healthy and fit. Yes? How many hours a day do we spend taking care of our body, especially if we count sleeping? I mean, it's a lot. But why are we attached to the body? We're attached to the body because we're in it. Yes? Once we're not in it anymore, we're not attached to it. I've read of so many near-death experiences. The person goes out of their body, and often they don't even realize it was their body. They'll just think, wow, that person looks like they're really in rough shape. And then they're, oh my God, that's my body. But they're not very interested anymore. Of course, some are, which is why they stay as ghosts. They're still attached to their body and they hang around. But generally, we're only attached to the body because we're in it. So what we're really attached to is ourself. We're more attached to ourselves than we are to our family and our society, and we're ultimately most attached to ourself. But Krishna is the self of the self. So we're actually most attached to Krishna. And just like these allegories, these analogies, that if I put food in my stomach, my hands are healthy. Yeah? Right? If I want to make my hands healthy, I mean, I do have to put lotion on my hands when it's really dry out. But I also have to make sure that I eat right, isn't it? Yes? So we all know if I serve Krishna, I will be happy. And we experience this in the Hare Krishna movement, don't we? That when I serve Krishna, I'm happy? Don't we all experience this? That if we decorate the deity, we forget how we're personally dressed? Yeah, you just forget. You're so absorbed in dressing the deity and decorating the deity that you don't remember how you're dressed, what you're wearing, how you're decorated. You're so absorbed in cooking for the deities, you don't care if you eat. Have we all had this kind of experience? Right? You're working for a festival, you're cooking for the deities, you're serving the prasadam, and then you realize, oh, I haven't eaten. Because you were just so satisfied to serve Krishna. Have we all had this experience? Yes? And that we're much more satisfied serving Krishna than trying to serve all these others. That this is what's actually satisfying. It's our center. We have this philosophy of Achincha Beta Beta Tattva. We are also one with Krishna. We are part of Krishna. I was just hearing this class yesterday, the day before, which is an incredible class since I'm doing this work on Varna Dharma. And Prabhupada was talking about the different Varnas, and the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras are the different parts of the universal form. Right? The Brahmanas are the head, the Kshatriyas are the arms, the Vaishyas are the belly, the Shudras are the feet. And he was saying, but this is only true if those people are working for the satisfaction of Krishna. If the Brahmanas are working for the satisfaction of Krishna, then they're the head of the Lord. If the Kshatriyas are working for the satisfaction of Krishna, they're the arms of the Lord, which is what Maharaj talked about in regard to this same point. If the kings are actually working as to please Krishna, then yes, pleasing the king will please Krishna. If the king is working for their own sense gratification, then it doesn't work. What was really interesting about that lecture is Prabhupada was talking about when you feed the Brahmanas, you feed God. So that's a point often said because the Brahmanas are the mouth of God. But then he was talking about how the Shudras are the feet of God. And he said, there's no difference between serving the feet of God and serving the head of God. He said, like we offer Tulsi to the feet of God. And I was thinking, it's not that the devotees who are doing Shudra work, that if we please them, it doesn't count. We only please the devotees doing Brahminical work. We please any of the devotees, we're pleasing the Lord. So the point is we're all part of the body of God. Some places Prabhupada says we're each a cell in the universal body. So it's just like a cell in our body. I give this example all the time. So the cells in my skin, in my eye, in my nose, in my heart, in my brain, they're working for my benefit. Of course, they're very undeveloped in consciousness, so they probably don't know that. The little jiva that's in a muscle cell in my heart probably has no idea, I'm serving Urmila. It probably doesn't even know I exist. But that's how it becomes happy. If my little heart muscle cells, if they're serving me, the big jiva in the body, then the heart also becomes happy. I take care of the heart takes care of me. I take care of the lungs take care of me. Does this make sense to everybody? And what happens when a cell tries to serve itself separately from serving the whole body? It becomes what? Cancer. And then what is going to be my mood? To kill it. Yes? So I love all the cells do you love all the cells of your body? Everybody, you love all the little bodily cells? Of course you do. Do you want your heart to be happy? Do you want your lungs to be happy? Do you want your liver and gallbladder and kidneys to be happy? Of course you do. You don't want them to be unhappy. Crazy. So Krishna wants all of us to be happy. Even if you're a completely selfish, demoniac being, you want those who work for you to please you and to be nicely situated, isn't it? I mean, I guess if you're super demoniac, like in the concentration camps, they would feed them just enough to live for a little while and then they would die. But that's insanity. So Krishna wants us to be happy. And when we want him to be happy, there's this perfect reciprocal relationship. It's just perfect common sense. And if I have some other center, it's not going to work. And again, we practically experience this. If I try to make Krishna happy, I become satisfied. Now, what about this other point, which is really like, we should say one more thing about that. I was thinking with the invocation of Ishopanishad, Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnarudachite Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Visishite. That even if you take the unlimited from the unlimited, you still have the unlimited. Like when I'm trying to serve all these other centers, they're all limited. My spouse is limited. My family is limited. The king is limited, or the president, the ideologies, the church, they're all limited. It's like trying to light my home with a phone battery. It doesn't work. It doesn't have the capacity. Another jiva cannot satisfy me. Even if I could perfectly satisfy my husband, or perfectly satisfy my family, or perfectly satisfy a religious institution, or perfectly satisfy my boss, there's not the capacity for them to perfectly satisfy me in return. Does that make sense? They just can't. I do not have the capacity to perfectly satisfy any of you. I can't do it. I can't satisfy all your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual needs. I'm a little jiva. I'm like a little teeny tiny battery. I'm not the sun. But Krishna, because he's unlimited, when we're connected with him and pleasing him, we can be unlimitedly satisfied. Right? Like Dhruva Maharaj, she says, now I'm happy. I don't need anything. I don't even need the universe anymore. All right, but now let's go to the other one, because I think that's easier to understand. But this other one, it seems really, really tough to understand. Chanura's point here, which is if you satisfy the king, everybody else will be happy with you. So we know that's not true for all these other centers. If my family loves me, that doesn't mean any of you will like me. Right? If Donald Trump loves me, it doesn't mean everybody else will. That's just not true. Right? If my boss likes me, I'm a good worker, it doesn't mean everybody else will like me. And it doesn't seem to be the case with Krishna either. You know, I'm right at the point now in the Mahabharata where the war is about to begin. Duryodhana doesn't like the Pandavas. He's not happy with them for reasons which are, I don't even know why he's not happy. Like, why is he not happy with them? They satisfy Krishna, and it doesn't mean anything to him. It doesn't mean diddly squat to him. He doesn't care. Why does Karna hate Arjuna? I don't know. I can't figure it out. Like, what's the reason? It's just envy. I mean, but there's no logical reason to it. The fact that Arjuna is very dear to Krishna inflames Karna. It doesn't make him love Arjuna. And we see practically, you know, we joined the Hare Krishna movement, like you were telling us the other day, how your parents were considering calling Ted Patrick and deprogramming you. You know, you join the Hare Krishna movement, you give yourself to Krishna, and your family may hate you. How many people Prahlad was persecuted by his own father. How many religious people in the world have been persecuted by other religions? I mean, that's really ridiculous. You surrender to God, and other people who surrender to God want to kill you for it because your conception of God is different from theirs. I mean, crazy. You're both Muslim, you know, but you're a Sunni or you're a Shiite, so you're shooting each other. You're both Christian, but you're a Catholic or you're a Protestant. That's how this country became populated with Europeans. Some little difference. We baptize babies. Well, we don't think you should baptize babies because they can't agree to be baptized. You should wait till they're adults to baptize them. Kill you. I mean, it doesn't seem like if you satisfy God, you satisfy everyone. You don't even satisfy other religious people. You can't even satisfy the other people in your same religion. If I please Radha Golokananda, I guarantee you that not everybody here in New Goloka will like me. Absolutely, I promise you. Especially if you want to take the whole community. But even just those of you who come here regularly to the morning program. I can do something that satisfies Radha Golokananda, and you'll still be upset with me about something. You know, it's just the way it is. So what does this mean? That if I satisfy Krishna, I satisfy everybody. What in the world does that mean? And meditating on it, you know, I always hope I don't get to talk about this point because I'm like, well, I don't know what to say. So I was really praying on this. What does this mean? What does this mean? If I please Krishna because Krishna is the self of everybody, then that is for everyone's highest good. The fact that the Pandavas pleased Krishna meant that they were acting for everyone's highest good. They were actually acting for Duryodhana and Karna's highest good. I mean, Krishna even said to Karna right before the battle, if you switch sides now, and if you come out openly as Kunti's eldest son, Yudhishthira will make you the world emperor. It will be for your highest good. So when we please Krishna, we are acting in a way that is actually for everyone's highest good. Some people may not take it. They may not accept it. They may not be open to it. So externally, they may actually try to kill us, like Duryodhana and Karna were trying to kill the Pandavas. That may happen. But actually, we're acting for everyone's highest good. People don't know what their highest good is. As it says in Bhagavad Gita, the demons are envious of themselves. They hate that they're servants of God. Like cancer cells, they hate that they have to serve the body. No, I'm going to serve myself. So if you take nice care of your body and you have cancer in it, the cancer doesn't appreciate it. Yes, but that is for the highest good. So others may or may not appreciate it, but make Krishna happy. Of course, then we come to the big question that I'm sure a lot of you are saying, all right, but I'm thinking I'm acting to make Krishna happy, and they're thinking they're acting to make Krishna happy. So why don't we all agree about this? Yes? Is that the question a lot of you have in your mind as the next logic? So even in the spiritual world, there's differences of opinion as to how to make Krishna. I hate to break this to all of you. And Prabhupada says that there's no utopia anywhere. There's no, like I remember going to the World's Fair or the World Expo when I was a kid, and there was this Disney exhibit of all these dolls dressed in different costumes. It's a small world after all. It's not, the spiritual world is not just like that. I mean, how boring would that be, where everybody's just holding hands and going, we all love Krishna and we're in agreement about everything all the time. I mean, there is a place like that. It's called the Brahmajyoti. So if you really want to go to a place where there's no differences of opinion, that's an option. But even in the it is an option. It's a real option. You can go there. It's one of the destinations your travel agent can arrange for you. But in the spiritual world, it's not like that. Where each as persons, we have, Prabhupada says, the hallmark of personality is differences of opinion, and some of those differences of opinion are how to satisfy the Lord. And the Lord, being infinite, is satisfied in an infinite number of ways. Now, there are certain things that don't satisfy him. Certain things that are outside that purview. But within that, Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is not narrow or stereotyped. Therefore, as I remember seeing at one Christian education convention, everyone who loves God should love everyone who loves God. Everyone who loves God should love everyone who loves God. If I'm not doing that, then I don't know my real self-interest. Then I'm the problem, not that you're the problem. I'm the problem. If I don't love everyone who loves God, even if they love God in a different way, as long as it's within that purview of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to live in the same room as everyone. That astrologer said Prabhupada could build a house in which the whole world could live, but a house normally, I mean, my house only has one room, but, most houses have more than one room. Yeah? And Krishna's different associates who have different opinions, they have different groups. Sometimes they're all together, but often they're not, because their views are contradictory. So even though some people may be Democrats and some people may be Republicans and some people may be libertarians or whatever, you can still have unity in wanting to care for the country. So this ability, there's this nice quote right inside the utility room there about appreciating other people's service. So as long as it's within the scope of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, if we're going to have an international society, then we need to appreciate other people's service, and we need to appreciate other people's point of view and come to a point where we can cooperate with respect. And that way, when Krishna's the center, yes, everyone can be satisfied. According to my watch, I have 1 minute. Yes, Mom. You think about pleasing Prabhupada. Well, when you're pleasing somebody who's pleasing Krishna, then two things equal to the same thing are equal to each other. So when you're pleasing Guru, whenever you're trying to please anyone who's devoted to Krishna, in that connection, not separately. Like if you worship Lord Shiva as an independent god, that's no good. If you worship Lord Shiva as a Vaishnava, then both Lord Shiva and Krishna are pleased and the same thing operates. Is that all right? Huh? 7:20. What is 7:20? I'm not remembering this by the verse number.
Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindanalaya Tartam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaratam Kandar Bhagavad Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipa Vikayanti Gira Pretanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrasya Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Aham Bhajami Govindam Aham Bhajami
Namaho Vishnu Daya Krishna Staya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachak Devasesha Shunyavade Vasshachade Satarade Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Purnichanana Shri Advaita Gacchara Sivasade Gaurata Vrindaya Shri Krishna Nata Dada Sivasade Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Advaita Gacchara Sivasade Gaurata Vrindaya Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sade Goloka Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sade Goloka Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radharamana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Goloka Radhe, 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 Radhe. No, Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnu Pad.
Darpanamarjanam Baba Mahagni Nirvapanam Jivanam Nandam Bhuti Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Mahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Advaitani Amita Smarane Nakala Bhagavan Durdaiva Midrishami Hanjanina Nuraga Granada piece of Nichena Sarora piece of Hishuna Aman Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayatava Pada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrishim Vichintaya Nayanam Galadashradaraya Varanam Gadgada Rudaya Kira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Aslishyavapadam Ratam Panastumam Padarshanam Marma Hatakarotuva Yata Tatava Vindato Lampato Mat Pranatastusa Eva Napara Victory to the Sri life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction mood. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've enriched all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. Oh, Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I'm your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditional.